December 11th, 1941. The Wolf's Lair, East Prussia. The air in the concrete bunker, heavy with tobacco smoke and the scent of damp concrete, seems to grow even thicker. An adjutant silently places a telegraph strip on the table. General Alfred Jodl scans the text. The United States has officially declared war. Jodl leans back in his chair and lets out a sharp, mocking laugh. "So they'll be sending us vacuum cleaners then," he mutters. A restrained, nervous chuckle ripples through the room. Outside, the thermometer reads minus 20 degrees Celsius, and the Eastern Front, only recently an unstoppable Wehrmacht roller, is beginning to bog down in ice, slush, and fierce resistance. The officers gathered around the map exchange skeptical glances. In their eyes, the U.S. is merely a collection of bloated, uncoordinated corporations, a nation of bankers and farmers whose only strategy is the pursuit of profit. They imagine Ford and General Motors frantically trying to figure out how to mount a cannon onto a civilian chassis. They genuinely believe that a nation valuing comfort over steel is incapable of total war. They are staring at their own death warrant, but they are too busy mocking the handwriting to read the content. At that very moment, thousands of miles from the icy plains of Prussia in Michigan, there is no triumph, only a primal, relentless roar. There is no room here for art or strategic musings in leather chairs. There is only rhythm. Inside the Chrysler, Ford, and General Motors plants, a process is underway that will later be known as the miracle of production. It is a violent, chaotic transformation. Engineers are literally tearing assembly lines apart with sledgehammers to make room for conveyors that will churn out chassis for M3 Lee and M4 Sherman tanks. The men on the shop floor care nothing for Hitler's geopolitical theories. Their consciousness has narrowed to the size of a quota. They are sweating, covered in grease, working triple shifts without a single day off. The sound is deafening. Not martial music, but the screech of metal, the rhythmic hammering of pneumatic drills, and the constant, low-frequency hum of operating machinery. By mid-December 1941, plant managers stopped checking the quality of the paint. They checked the cycle time. Every minute won from the assembly process is one extra shell, one extra plane, one extra step toward victory. They are not trying to reach German perfection in every part. They are building a system where a part made in Ohio fits perfectly into an assembly built in Illinois. This is not knighthood. This is mathematics. It is the geometry of death put on a conveyor belt. While Jodl is holding court in his bunker about vacuum cleaners, American engineers are solving problems beyond the reach of German bureaucracy. How to ensure a vehicle designed for family picnics can carry armor and a cannon without breaking down in the mud. They are reconfiguring the logistics of entire states. Trains filled with raw materials fly toward factories. Trains filled with finished equipment race to the ports without a moment's delay. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front in 1941, German Sergeant Hans, once a conqueror of Paris, is trying to coax his MG-34 machine gun back to life. His hands, wrapped in dirty rags, are numb with cold. He looks at the mechanism, a masterpiece of engineering where every part was fitted to micron-level precision. Hans strokes the cold barrel lovingly, but it remains silent. The lubricant inside has frozen. There are no spare parts, none of the special oil promised back in October. In the dead of night, he hears the steady, rhythmic hum of supply trucks moving along Soviet roads, a sound that, according to the logic of blitzkrieg, should not exist. He realizes he is a professional, the best at what he does, but he is losing. His armor, his pride, his equipment, it is all becoming a burden, because war has ceased to be a duel of knights. It has become a dirty, endless machine that demands not just skill, but spare parts, fuel, and an infinite flow of metal. In the plant where Elizabeth works, a young woman whose husband left for the Navy on the very first day of the war, She stands at her lathe. Her hands are covered in deep scratches, her hair hidden under a heavy kerchief. She isn't a soldier in the traditional sense, but every day she creates transmission parts destined for the front. She sees other women, former housewives, turning into professional artisans of war. Here, in the noise and smoke, a power is born that Jodl calls propaganda. They don't understand that America isn't just the government in Washington. It is this woman at the lathe who shows no mercy to the metal because she wants the war to end. She works with such fury, as if the metal itself were the embodiment of the threat looming over the world. She is part of a colossal mechanism that needs no Führer's orders or fear of the Gestapo. It runs on the conviction that they are building a future where there is no place for tyranny. By the end of 1941, it has become clear the Blitzkrieg has failed. Barbarossa has shattered not just against resistance, but against the mathematical impossibility of maintaining such momentum. The Germans have become hostages of their own doctrine. They built an army for short, brilliant flashes of victory, not for long, exhausting burnout in the cold of a Russian winter. The might of their panzers has proven helpless against a simple shortage of heat and spare parts. Generals in the Wolf's Lair continue to draw arrows on maps, planning encirclements that look beautiful but lack a foundation. They do not see that behind the front lines, in the deep rear, Russia is grinding down their pace of advance. Factories that were loaded onto platforms in 1941 and evacuated to the Urals are coming to life in open fields under the open sky. Women and children stand at machines, working 16 hours a day to give the front anything at all. And it is at this very moment, as the German machine begins to stall in the icy slush, that America enters the game. The Wehrmacht officers who laughed at refrigerators still do not understand that they are facing not just an army, but an entire industrial civilization. They look at their maps trying to find a tactical error. But the error was not made on the maps. It was made in December 1941, when they mocked what they failed to calculate. The history of 1941 is the year Nazi Germany reached its peak and began its descent into the abyss. It is the year overconfidence collided with the reality of industrial scale, when hopes for a quick victory were replaced by a sticky, cold fear of an endless war. When they looked at that telegraph strip and overlooked the fact that behind the words, "The U.S. declares war," lies the roar of millions of machines that have already begun working toward their destruction. This was the point of no return. 1941 proved, you can build the perfect army, you can create the perfect weapon, but if you despise the mathematics of resources and logistics, you will lose to anyone who knows how to make simple weapons in industrial quantities. The laughter in the Wolf's Lair would fade much faster than they could have imagined, because reality is not what you believe, but what your enemy builds. And the enemy, as it turned out, wasn't building vacuum cleaners. They were building their finale, to be continued.